I think it's a bit comical when we go back and do our research, and as we look back at the times when we were growing up, everything was happening in real time. So we never really got to sit down or fully analyze how much the NBA or just sports in general is rigged and scripted. It's always been rigged and scripted. It's just that it's so blatantly obvious. Now, LeBron was just such a phenomenon, but early on, you could tell that they were prepping LeBron James to be a Cleveland Cavalier. Me personally, I don't even think LeBron James is from Akron, Ohio. I think he was placed in Akron, Ohio, but that's a conversation for another day. You know, he would attend Cleveland home games and would be sitting front row, sitting courtside, see him waving to the fans. They call this predictive programming, preparing you for what's next to come in the future. But ultimately, LeBron's career was scripted. It was said that by Brian Windhorst that LeBron James didn't even want to join the Cleveland Cavaliers because they were such an atrocity. It was such a horrible franchise. If you look at the team from 2000 to 2001, their record wasn't as bad. They went from 30-52. Then 01 to 2002, they was 29-53. So overnight, you could just tell that they were tanking. Some of those talented players that was on that same 2002, 2003 team when the Cavs were purposely tanking, also on the 01, 02, and the 2000 and 2001 season when they had a little bit of success. So they weren't that bad. It's just that they were purposely tanking to get you. The Cleveland Cavaliers mysteriously got the #1 pick. The Nuggets and the Cleveland Cavaliers, they held the best percentages and, in terms of like odds. The Cavs and the Nuggets had the same odds of landing the #1 pick. Somehow or another, it just mysteriously goes to Cleveland. So now they're in prime position to be able to draft the hometown hero, so to speak, in LeBron James. But now you see how the league is operating and how they just changing the rules and altering the game. It makes you think that all this stuff was just scripted to begin with. When you think about LeBron James coming from Cleveland, it sounds like a Disney script. This hometown kid from Akron, Ohio. It's a great story. The pick to the Detroit Pistons. Passed up on Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh for some unknown player who's trash and nobody knows of this guy. You done missed out on all this talent other than LeBron James. So to me, it just doesn't add up. If the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Denver Nuggets both have the same odds of being able to get the #1 draft pick, how is it that the Memphis Grizzlies ended up getting the second pick? The Denver Nuggets ended up third. Really doesn't make sense. And the irony is that the owner prior to Dan Gilbert, Gordon Gung, he was blind. And I'm not making fun of people that's blind, but it was crazy that the franchise was being led by a blind man, and he had the nerve to say he envisioned what he I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not, God forgive me, but he said that he envisioned where he wanted the team to be being led by LeBron James. It's like, dude, like, how far do you see this team going? Had a nerve to say, in my mind's eye, I think of somebody who carries himself with a sense of confidence. Like, it's not funny to make fun of blind people, bruh, but the NBA is just a joke. So he was legally blind. So what is the difference between someone being legally blind and illegally blind? The nerve of this article, it says Gung has clear vision of LeBron James' team's future. So I guess the old saying is true. The blind leading the blind. He just saw that LeBron James was going to carry this franchise. LeBron James was the most publicized player. He was being compared to Michael Jordan. Just thinking about all the drafts in history. How do you, as the Portland Trailblazers, miss out on Michael Jordan? Pass up on George. All right, cool. You made a mistake. But then you pass up on Kevin Durant right after that. Sometimes I feel stupid thinking to myself, like, bro, like, how didn't I catch on to this back then? But it was right there in our faces the whole time. In the Cleveland article, they basically admit that LeBron James' career was staged. This is a Cleveland article. Jim Paxson, he originally was the Cleveland Cavaliers general manager, but then he became the executive vice president of the Cleveland Cavaliers. The times that he first met LeBron James, and it was right after the draft. But here's the key part that I wanted to go to. It was talking about the biggest break. So it's basically explaining how the pieces was put together in order for them to acquire LeBron James. And this is why I say it's scripted, because this was something that was planned before time. So they already knew that they were going to draft LeBron James, and LeBron James knew that he was going to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers. But it says the biggest break. Most Cavalier fans don't know all Paxson did to put the Cavs in position to draft James in 2003. In 2000, Paxson found a way to trade Shawn Kemp to Portland, with the Blazers taking on Shawn Kemp's bloated contract of $71 million spread over 4 years. Kemp had added at least 40 pounds since his days as a star with Seattle. Paxson also traded star point guard Andre Miller and other productive players before the 2002-2003 season. He put a team on the court that finished 17-65, the worst record in NBA. He says, quote, "It was by design." Repeat, it was by design, meaning that even back in 2000, they was already preparing for LeBron James, who just sits around and say, all right, we're going to wait 3 years. And then not to mention they fired this man like the year after, or like a year or two after. This man just got you the biggest star, supposedly the biggest rookie, this phenomenon, the most sought after rookie, perennial all-star in the making. He just landed you LeBron James and you fired this guy. But he sits around for 3 years and say, we just going to wait for LeBron James. We ain't going to make no trades to try to get a big star. We not going to scout, look at the NBA draft and see if we could get somebody next year, or see if we could get this free agent. They got Carlos Boozer. It's just like, bro, like things would have to go perfect in order for you to just think that you could just land LeBron like that. But I tell you one thing, bro, whoever that blind man is, the pre-plan like that to hit big in the lottery, I need some tips. I need to make some phone calls to this blind man to help me hit big on the lottery. Let me know what I need to do. Let me know the secret of what I need to do in order to give myself the best odds and the best chance to hit big on a lottery like that. Like, I'd be a billionaire. So it says Paxson was hoping the lottery ping pong balls bounce exactly right, giving the Cavs the top pick in what will become one of the best drafts in NBA history. But when you look at things in hindsight, it's quite apparent how scripted it all was. There were players that was better than LeBron James. LeBron wasn't even ranked higher than a player named Lenny Cook. There had to have been a lot of truth to that name, the chosen one. You would have to be the chosen one with all the media coverage that he was getting. LeBron James is very athletic. LeBron James isn't really a great three-point shooter. He's a high flyer, but he doesn't have great ball handling skills. Really good passer. So it was a guy named Lenny Cook, who was a high school basketball player from New York. And he was one of the top prospects in the country. Why didn't he get the same media coverage that LeBron James was getting? It's a great question. Who you connected with that they chose you out of all the players in the country to put all that media attention around you? So it says the high schooler ranked higher than LeBron James, Lenny Cook, was born in Atlantic City. His family moved to Bushwick, a borough of Brooklyn, New York, when he was young. And it was in New York where Cook became a high school basketball phenom. He was also a high school phenom. So reading the story, it almost sounded as if they was trying to recreate the same story of Len Bias, who was also this phenomenon, said to have been better than Michael Jordan. Unfortunately, he passed away. But this guy didn't even pass away. He was just better than LeBron. They said Cook averaged 31.5 points, 15 rebounds. He was ranked number 1 over future NBA players LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony. It says in 2001, Cook attended the ABCD camp and he won the MVP, in which LeBron also participated the previous year. He was looking to repeat this in 2001. This didn't happen, and it will be the first glimpse of Cook's basketball downfall. In the closing seconds of the game, Cook's team had the lead and the ball. Cook was on script. Cook was on script to win the game. Pay attention to the wording, ladies and gentlemen. But then LeBron stole the ball from Cook and scored the game-winning basket. The game led to the nation first knowing about LeBron James, and it eventually led to LeBron appearing on the famous Sports Illustrated cover with the words, "The Chosen One." So it was all on par. It was lined up, and it seemed like that was scripted to happen. And considering that when LeBron James got dunked on in a private practice and they hid the footage, one can make the argument that it's possible that They could have paid this guy to take a dive. This guy could have been in on it. The head coach could have been in on it. One of the players could have gave one of the higher ups the play that helped him steal the ball so that LeBron James can look like the chosen one on the big stage. But somehow or another, that derailed and changed the trajectory of Cook's career. So no team drafted him. He decided he only played 8 games as a free agent. He played in a few other leagues, but he played well for the Kings, averaging 28.8 points per game. Signed with the Celtics, but didn't last long. He didn't make the roster. So to me, that was orchestrated because they wanted all the attention to be on LeBron James. So if you have someone who's going to take that attention away and who's the better player, all because you got to steal, Nick Anderson stole a ball from Michael Jordan. Did that mean that Nick Anderson was better than Jordan? But even if that didn't happen, even if he stole a ball from LeBron James, if the tables were reversed and he would have stole the ball from LeBron, they would have swept it right under the rug. They would have just spin the narrative and just act like it didn't happen. But it all seemed too scripted. It seemed like he was really the chosen one. The number 23 was hailed as the next Michael Jordan. He was born in 84. Michael Jordan's career was born in 84. Michael Jordan retired in 2002, 2003. LeBron entered the league in 2003. So it just seemed all too scripted. He'd leave the Cavs, go to Miami, come back down from 3-1, leave there, go join the Los Angeles Lakers. It just seemed all too scripted. These articles understand the fact that most people do not read. This article was written by Sports Illustrated, and the headline says, "Here's your annual reminder of how oh so close the Grizzlies were to drafting LeBron James," written by Dan Treadway, May 20th, 2014. So I'm not going to read all this stuff that he put up here. So I'm going to just give you guys a quick summary. He says, although the process has kind of become somewhat of a caricature of itself, Dan Feldman of Pro Basketball Talk definitely pointed this out by producing theories for why the NBA will rig the lottery for every team involved. It's worth remembering that the NBA draft lottery is the most exciting event of its kind of sports, with apologies to the NHL lottery and its unfortunately lack of conspiracy theories. For those wondering why it might be worth tuning in this evening, it's probably worth remembering that only 11 years ago, the sports world was only one ping pong ball away from being sent in a completely different trajectory. The 2003 draft lottery more or less went accordingly to script. I repeat, the 2003 draft lottery more or less went according to script. But it's easy to overlook that LeBron James was this close to becoming a member of Memphis Grizzlies.